Hey everyone, this is the short version of the electric motor component walkthrough. If you want the longer version, you can watch episode 75 there. Just click on the link on the top right. Thanks. You know, it's a little tight, cramped quarters here on the boat, but I did want to give a quick rundown on the electric motor. So I just wanted to say thanks first off to Mooj over at Golden Motor Canada. That's where I got the electric motor components. He's been a big help because it's been a learning curve for me, so I've asked him a lot of questions, and he's always been helpful. And well, actually, I think the whole Golden Motor was helpful because I had some challenges in the beginning with a bad controller, and you know, they helped work me through, and I wasn't feeling like I was going to be stuck with anything, which is kind of important. So, anyways, this is a 48 volt, 10 kilowatt BLDC. Electric motor, and this BLDC means brushless DC motor. So it uses very little energy comparative to the amount of torque that it has. And my boat is almost 36 feet long. Doing the math from the old Atomic 4 that I pulled out, I had about the equivalent of 30 horsepower out of the Atomic 4 is what they said. But you really have to rev it hard, and it's old. By the time you actually measured the power going out to the shaft, you know, I'm sure it was a lot less than that. Some people say as low as 8 horsepower, equivalent horsepower. This motor here in equivalency 10 kilowatts is about 13 horsepower, so I have more power out of this motor than the old Atomic 4. And the second thing that's maybe notable about going to an electric motor versus natural combustion engine is that the efficiency factor is complete opposite. So you have to really rev a motor on the Atomic 4 to get that torque and that power, whereas you have instant torque on this motor. It's you know, they say 85%, 90% efficient. I don't know what the exact number is. It's sort of dependent upon the RPM that you're at, but let's just say for sake of argument 85% efficient. So when you first turn it on, you have 85% of the torque. So what I noticed instantly when using this is I don't need to push this as hard at all compared to the Atomic 4. Like it's barely moving, and I'm getting a lot more torque out of the same prop and whatnot. So this motor is the liquid cooled version. I don't have the liquid cooling hooked up yet. I have the parts for it. I've got a little rad now, and I've got a couple of leads that are going to go to it. I just need to get a little motor in there that will flick on if the temperature gets to a certain degrees or whatever. This motor has 2 stators. That's why there's 2 feeds into it. So you know, I don't quite know the logic or the reasoning for that, but I do know that when you hook it up to your controller, you can either have 2 controllers sharing the load to one motor, or you can have one controller, I think, feeding 2 motors. But the better design, I think, is actually to have 2 controllers, because these things do get hot, actually. And right now I don't have any throttling hooked up. I'm going to show you my new throttle that I have from Golden Motor as well. Last year I did it with a bicycle throttle, actually, just because I didn't know much about it, so kind of had to work out what I had, and it was just what I had. So this Vector, it's the VEC 500. That's what controls the motor. So it has 2 main feeds. It's taking 48 volts in, and the controller itself then is a pure sine 3-phase motor controller. So it basically sends the right impulses in phase to pull the I guess they would be the magnets or the electrodes around the stators, which turns the motor. So that's actually what controls all of that. And I'm not a big fan of the software in it, but it's been working fine. Biggest thing is that, I mean, it works, but there's not a lot of help, like what the settings are supposed to be or what's optimal for this throttle or this motor. They could do a better job there, but it does work fine. It's got a fuse here as well, so if there's, it's a 400 amp fuse, so if something shorts, it'll blow. In behind, there is my battery bank. So I have 8 DC batteries. These are from Magna, and they are the GC225s, which essentially stands for 225 amps. And the way it's set up is that at a 25 amp draw, I have about 440 minutes. It's just sort of what I'm working with. And so by putting them in series, they generate 48 volts. So just from a bird's eye perspective here, looking over the controller down at how this is connected, the motor has a 1-inch shaft, and my prop shaft is 7/8. So what I did get was a 7/8 jar coupler here, and you can see it makes a bit of noise when it's turning. That's about the only noise that I hear actually now. It's extremely quiet. So to make the coupling work, there's a Neo Flex spider in between the two couplers. So this one is a 1-inch coupler, that's a 7/8. You slide that on that shaft, you slide this one on this shaft. I've got to adjust it a little bit. I can bring it in just a touch more closer, but it's been working fine for my tests here so far. Okay, and why the jar coupler? This gives you the ability to have just any kind of slight misalignment, and the neoprene or the plastic or the flexible part of the coupler. This is anodized steel, and this flexible part actually absorbs any of the slight misalignments that there might be, because it's very hard to get something perfect. And then there's a bearing here behind the plate, and this bearing is in place to act as thrust control. So it basically, there's 2 couplers on each side. Last year I only had 1, but I wanted to double it up. So there's 2 shaft couplers that are locked on the shaft, and basically when you have pressure pushing the propeller, pushing the boat forward, the 2 behind can't push past the bearing. The bearing is affixed to the steel plate here. This is the Golden motor. I don't remember the model number of this thing here, but basically that's the throttle that I'm using now. Potentiometer style throttle. And basically when you go forward, it goes forward, and when you pull back, it goes back. So you don't need any of the reverse switches or anything like that hooked up. You just leave them open. And basically this cable has a couple of ends that fit into the motor itself, or sorry, into the controller. And that's basically how it works. Short on the electric motor setup. I'm going to post another video. You can check the link here on the top right hand corner, wherever that is. And that'll be a longer version where I'll maybe talk about some of the pain points that I've learned, a lot more detail on the electric motor. But very thankful to the guys over at Golden Motor, in particular Mooch, for all your help on the setup. And yeah, it's been a year. It's been working all right. I said overall satisfaction. I'm not what do you call it? I'm not being sponsored in any way by those guys, but you know, they've got an okay product, and you know, I've been able to work with the system and it controlling the boat just fine.